Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. We are here together, in spirit rather, because you, our lovely viewer, are at home hanging out and still, just catching a digital class. You're here for Parkour, episode 30, and we really appreciate your guys' viewership. If you guys didn't know, just really quickly, I'm going to preface, the episodes are down to a 30-minute long runtime now. And we no longer have our AMA. That being said, you guys can always, more than welcome to send us message, ask us questions, leave us comments. All of that's still super fun. We love to communicate with our community, but we are taking our time off camera, behind the scenes, to get our buildings open again, as best as we can when that's appropriate. We're trying to make sure that all of our staff is prepared and understanding, and that our facilities are going to be able to handle whatever the new obstacles that we may face are. So, you guys, there's your brief disclaimer about the shortening of the episodes and what to expect moving forward. Hopefully, we'll get with you very shortly in actual class environments. Until then, we're going to, make like an Animal Crossing character and move some of our furniture around. Sick, job well done. And we're going to be mindful of our furry friends, our villagers if you will. Excuse me. Just gonna set you out of the way. And we're going to get ourselves ready to go with our mobility and warm-ups. So, nice strong stance here. I don't have a mat today, as you guys can see. Artemis is very displeased there's no mat, but it doesn't stop him from coming to try and take up my space. But yeah, nice wide stance. We're at about 1.25 your shoulder width or so. Maybe 1.5 if you'd like to go a little wider, you can. We're going to take our chin from one side. It's going to roll in a half circle down across our chest to the opposite shoulder. And we're going to replicate this movement on the opposite direction. We're going to go back and forth a few times. Very good stuff. Now, we are going to start with our backwards shoulder shrugs. Don't forget, really reach up as far as you can and pinch your shoulder blades for your shrugs. Let's get into it. Big backward shrugs. You can maintain that wide stance and good tall spinal posture. Keep your head in neutral and forward position. I like to use the reflective surfaces around my house to help to make sure that I'm, keeping good posture. I also can look down and try to quality check myself. Let's go opposite direction now. So forward, shoulder circles. Some of you might have started with forward. You may be going backward. That's fine. Just make sure you get both directions done. Awesome, very good stuff. So, we're going to stop with the shoulder circles and start with a very strong T-pose. From this T-pose, we're going to make some lateral arm circles. If you guys know what they are, go ahead and get started. If you guys don't, here's your explanation. Arms are out in that T-pose. Hands are going to come from that outside to the top, like cactus arms. Then hands go in towards the shoulders. Then they swing down and around, back to the start. Try and keep your elbow stuck in space, almost like your hand is the arm of a clock, and your elbow is the center point of that. So, I want you to go on ahead, keep that T-pose. Arms are up. We're going to go from outside over the top towards our head. Try to make those circles. And I have the benefit of this mirror here, so I can keep my T-pose and I can watch myself, make sure that my elbows aren't dropping. I also have my microwave, and I have a neat little picture over here. All of those reflective surfaces are something you can use to your advantage. If you're creative enough and you're keen, you're gonna find yourself very fortuitous. This is a fruitful endeavor if you can. So, alright, cool. Let's go the opposite direction. Again, minding that posture, trying to keep those elbows up. I know your shoulders, your neck, it's all getting a little bit tired, it's getting a little warm, it's getting a little warmed up. That's good. Today's episode is going to focus specifically on our Kong vault and a bunch of the practices that we can use to really push that, make the most out of that skill. So, continuing. Just a few more of these lateral arm circles here. Mindful of my posture. And mindful of my breathing. In through the nose. And out through the mouth. And go ahead and give that a rest. Nice. Let's shake out the wrists side to side. Just like that. And I like to flap them up and down. Because we're going to be doing quite a lot on our wrist, focusing on the Kong today, we're going to do a few little fun stretches. We're going to put one hand out in front of us, like we're saying, stop, no, don't go. And we're going to reach through those fingers, clasping the palm of that hand. Now I can pull back on the hand and stretch out the wrist. Often people will grab their fingers and pull back on their fingers, and they lose a lot of the potential stretch in their finger and their knuckle. That's great, you can flexibly stretch that part of your hand, but what we're focusing on is our wrist currently. So I'm going to reach through the fingers to grab and pull on the hand. Ta-da! Now I'm going to do that same thing going opposite. So hand points down, fingers are apart, reach through the fingers, and pull on that hand, stretch the wrist. You can reach up, we can reach out, we can reach down. Just trying to make sure that you get that good stretch on the wrist. There we go. And shake out and roll out that wrist that you just stretched. Get ready, we're going to switch. So palm out, grab the palm and pull. I like to bring my arm down a little bit after I get that pull started. I really focus on extending through the end of my bicep here towards my elbow. So I'm squeezing through onto the palm, pulling that wrist up, and pushing through my elbow to almost hyperextend my arm, get a little bit of extra stretch in the elbow while I stretch the wrist. And stop, release, re-grab in that downward position and pull to stretch out the top and the back of the wrist and forearm. And again, I do still like to drop my arm down, focus on that hyperextension in my arm if I can. There we go. Good. Go ahead and come out of that and roll that wrist out. Shake it out, flap it out, however you need to kind of bring it back into standard movement. Good stuff. We're going to move into our torso and our hips. So widen out just a little bit more than you would otherwise have been. I'm at about 2, maybe even 2.5 of my own shoulder width. We're going to do a couple of torso twists. Light and balanced, just going back and forth, trying to slowly, gradually push a little further and a little deeper. Adding a little arm power now, driving into it a little bit more momentum twist style. Good. And we're going to go into 2 different types of hip circles. One is going to be an isolated upper body, and the other will be without that isolation. So we'll start with the first being, again, isolated spine, not moving the spine, focusing on the hip, specifically in the pelvis. I'm trying to roll that pelvic bone all the way around the base of my spine, going opposite direction as well. So think about moving your hip bone or your pelvis around your spine, not the other way around. And in just a moment here, we're going to finish these pelvic rolls. and stop there. We're going to now move the chest around in a slight circle as we do this hip circle here. And be mindful of which direction you're going as you start. We're going to go both directions. You'll feel this maybe a little bit more in the actual hip itself, towards the front of the hip flexor, especially if you're wide in your straddle. If you're at 2.5 or almost 3 times your width, you'll feel that for sure. And let's go the opposite direction as well. Very good stuff. Now, we're going to go on ahead and bring ourselves in. You can walk yourself in slowly with your feet back to the middle. Very good stuff. Now, just a few knee circles and then a few ankle rolls, and we're going to get started with our actual warm-up blood pumpers, right? So squat down, circle mount. Now, I think it's imperative that you get all of your mobility whenever you guys are doing a workout. We're going to multitask this portion by lifting our heels up off the ground to do not just a knee circle, but also an ankle circle as well. So, get those heels up as you guys are doing these knee circles. Even if they're up only an inch or 2. Try and keep them up. And opposite direction. Nice. Keep that balance. Keep breathing. And nice. Stand on up. Like to walk it out in place just a few paces. Knees, ankles, hips, spine, shoulders, back, neck, elbows, wrists, all mobilized. All of our major joints seem to be taken care of. So we're going to just start with a light jog. Now, I'm a big fan of the statement, free running it's a long word, right? It's like an 11-letter word. 7 of those letters are running. the word running. Free running. There's a lot of cardio that's involved in the sport that I think is often missed out on. And jogging or going out for a jog or a run around the neighborhood, as long as it's appropriate, safe, is allowed, you're old enough, maybe you're monitored, take the family with you, go on a jog, maybe a bike ride. Either way, good cardio is, I think, often overlooked. So, nice light jog. Even if it's just in place. Take this as a chance to really focus on your breathing. Gonna aim to not just warm up the body, but hone in on that breathing technique. Nice deep breath in through the nose, and out through the mouth. Just a little bit more. Let's say 30 more seconds. It's just a light jog. This is honestly probably not even long enough to jog around the block. Maybe like down the stairs and around to the corner, but not quite around the whole block just yet. But we'll stop there. So that was probably a decent warm-up for us doing a lot of going nowhere. Did some good stuff. We're gonna go get a quick sip of water. So I've got my drink here. You guys go ahead and go get yours. Stay well hydrated. We'll see you back here in just a moment for some kongs. Mr. Boy, we're gonna have to move. We're gonna have to move. We're gonna have to move. Can we move? Uppies. Alright, well hello and welcome back everyone. So, we were just talking about, what we're going to do for class, and that was calm. We went and got a quick drink of water. We should be well hydrated now. We're going to go over some of the most basic calm drills, more advanced calm drills, application, why they're good, and we're doing this because calm is such an often requested skill. So, without further ado, we started calm by practicing our floor calm. Today, all of the calms that we're going to do are variations of the floor calm. But keep in mind, our floor calm in its most basic movement, we put our feet together, squat down, heels usually come up off the ground. I'm going to reach my hands at about the width of my shoulders, right? So shoulder wide. I reach those out and across, blocking on the floor, so pushing really strong through, not just my arm, but through my shoulder and my back. That way I can pop my feet up, land on my feet, not on my hands. So, super basic floor calm. Our goal would be to try and squeeze the knees and keep them as tight together as possible. There's many people like me that have a thigh that's pretty thick, and it makes it hard for you to keep your knees together. That's okay. If you guys find that you can't quite get your knees together, but your feet are together, that knees apart, feet together is otherwise something we want to try and avoid. I would suggest, if you've got those thick thighs, that you can keep your feet slightly apart. Try and keep your knees over your feet, so that way when you land, you stay squared. It's strong, it's balanced, it's considerate for your body type. So, those are your most basic floor calms. Now, moving those up, pushing those forward a little bit more, trying to get to the point where, like in my last one, I popped off my hands a little bit. I'm going from my feet into the air, then to my hands, back into the air, then to my feet. So we are going airborne twice. We squat down, we make that first bit a pretty fast and fairly low and lateral movement. I'm not going to dive down into my hands, I'm going to travel across, almost like a rock skipping on water. So I start by getting low. As I push myself out, I start going out and across and try and use my arms to help redirect me up. So that's where they come in, become a little bit more applicable for that help. So I'm going to stay ready, not to land on my cat. And as I go out, again, traveling laterally, trying to push up out of my hands. Now maybe you guys can't quite tell that there's a moment where I'm airborne in either aspect, but that is definitely your goal. And to exaggerate that more is just to make yourself better in the skill. So again, a little bit more basic of that, diving out, across, and trying to go. And maybe you can see a little bit more clearly there that I come off of my hands, then travel a little past my hands even, then drop down onto my feet. That's because I'm not really trying to do a push-up. in the middle of my floor Kong, my arms are fairly straight. And instead, I'm kind of rebounding or recoiling through my shoulders and back a little bit. So again, slightly more advanced floor Kong would have us skipping like a rock on water from our feet to our hands. That's our first skipping point of impact, in which case we try and drop onto our feet. Now, one of the drills you can do that helped me a lot, if you guys are on a cushy space like this carpet floor, you can practice Kong through to your bottom. Now, not landing on your feet makes it kind of challenging, but it is definitely a slightly more fun and easy way to learn how to curl your hips under and to get your feet in front of you during your Kong. So a Kong through to your bottom looks something like this. I'm gonna get nice and low, and as I put my hands down, I'm not doing a big dive. I am instead going to block and really focus on shooting my feet almost into a pike. Oh. Now, it's a lot cushier on like a blanket or folded cushion, pillow maybe even, but the more depth that you have under you, the more challenging that this movement is to complete as well. It is, again, just an exaggeration. It's not something you have to do, but if you guys are struggling, practicing with a short movement where you really exaggerate the hip curl and the bodily rotation is helpful. Now, one of my favorite workouts for specifically Kongs is where you start in a push-up and you do a little bit of a broken push-up rather, and we try and cast our body up and Kong through from that push-up. Now, that can be pretty tough, but we're gonna go over it and give it a shot. Excuse me, Artemis. You're beautiful and I love you, but you must stay out of my way. So, we're gonna start, like I said, in a nearly perfect push-up. We're gonna have our hips up just a little bit higher than we would otherwise need them to be. So, just like this. Push up, hips up just a little bit higher. And from that position, we are going to ever so carefully try and cast with one leg, like so, by pushing that leg up and back while jumping off our planted leg. And then, finally, we will pull our knees through the middle, try and land on our feet. So the whole movement looks like this. No. No. So here we go. Starting here, leg is up and ready. Oh my God, why are you in my face?
You keep
so
waiting
much?
too long. Just go for it. Wow.
Thank you. Jesus. There. So, push up, hips high. One leg up. We're going to do a little squat and cast, then pull our feet through the middle. Right? And I'm exaggerating how much I pull my feet through, trying to get my feet all the way to my hands. So again, starting back, start with that push up, go into that little bit of a downward dog or so. We're going to do a little bit of a cast and pop and Kong those feet into the place of the hands. Now, that is super cool, super fun, and a little bit more of an advanced practice for your Kongs. You can take a normal Kong, floor Kong rather, squat down nice and low, and dive an incredible distance out to your hands in order to practice your dive Kong, right? Something like so, where I get down nice and low, and my cat is about a body length away, and so I'll be diving at least my height if I go from here to my hands out over there by my cat. So, Mr. Artemis, my helpful little marker, my hand placement guide. I'm going to be trying to get my feet past that hand placement now. So again, down nice and low at the start in that squat. Hands go out. I'm doing a big dive floor Kong to help me practice my dive Kong vault. Now you guys can see I'm really seriously exaggerating, pulling those feet through the middle, trying to land on my feet past my hands. This can be very, very challenging for a lot of people. And when we talk about actually vaulting over a block, that's where a lot of people have an issue doing this. One of the tricks that you guys can have, and if you guys have a yoga mat, it really helps. I can pull this bad boy out. Just use the line of the edge of the yoga mat. Mr. Artemis, down there, please. So, if this were my wall that I were vaulting over, my obstacle that I were vaulting, I would put my hands down to the edge of the mat here. And if I'm able to, or as I'm able to, get my shoulders and chest to go past my hands, then no matter where I fall, my center mass, being my torso, will fall past my hands. So we have to get the hands there to the edge and try and get the shoulders past whatever the edge of our obstacle is. So I'm leaning out, I'm levering out. Now, currently I'm resting on my knees, doing that levering action, trying to get my shoulders past my hands ever so slightly. That little bit of lean when you dive into a vault and you put your hands out and you wait and you pull your feet through as you're in that lean, you're more likely to land on the opposite side of that obstacle every time that you do your Kong vault with that body lean. Okay? So if you're up on top of something, we'll say doing a Kong down, and this is a great way to practice your Kong down by doing your Kong, but with a little bit of a kick to handstand flare. So I'm going to show you guys that drill using the mat now as a guide here, as an example for my hands so you can see a physical line. And whether you guys have a mat or not, it's okay. You just want to imagine that physical line for yourselves when you're using this drill, right? So, there we go. Got my hands ready. I'm going to do, like I said, a slight and light kick to handstand. So again, hands are going to go on that line, and a slight kick to handstand. But I'm going to get my shoulders past my hands as I do a handstand Kong down, right? To help me practice the act of doing my Kong down in its entirety. So, kick the handstand and try and Kong down with that lean. Now I'm landing with my feet on the line that my hands were on, but ideally I'd be able to pull myself past that line, landing with my feet past that hand space. So I'm going to go for it again with maybe a little bit more kick up and a little bit more lever, or a little bit more lean for my body. So, hands are in. Nice. Now, you guys can see I've pulled my feet past my hands, but it's because I moved my whole upper half of my torso, my shoulders. I moved that past my hands as well. So if I've moved that point past my hands and I'm traveling straight down, my hips, my legs, they're likely to clip if I'm on an actual ledge. So having practiced that pull through where you get your feet under you, super helpful. If you guys are on the flat ground like this, then there's no chance of you tripping and clipping and falling. So it's honestly even more beneficial to practice your Kong down in this flat environment without an actual block. So again, for the drill, kicking up towards like a handstand, hands on the edge, leaning and levering past it, then pulling the feet down for the Kong as a whole. there's that little bit of lean and lever. I'm trying to push those shoulders out, and then pull by pushing the floor under you and pulling your knees and feet to the ground. Right? Let's practice it a few more times and try and push yourself as far as you can. Okay, Artemis. We're at stretch time. If you're done bothering me, I hope you guys have got an opportunity to practice those skills and those drills we talked about. You guys understand them. Maybe you're able to use them to increase your ability to do kongs. You can even start to add those drills together and start by, that dive kong variation that we did. You can try and dive into that near handstand. Now, guys, we're gonna go ahead and say thank you. We really appreciate all your viewership. You guys can smash that like button or subscribe or hit that bell notification so that way you guys can see all sorts of really cool content as it drops. For those of you that are done, did or do, great, good, go get a quick sip of water, but we're gonna do just a few stretches for our wrists before we hit the road. So guys, go on ahead, pin those hands together in prayer position, like I like to refer to it as. We're gonna pull those thumbs in towards our chest, stretching our wrists and our elbows. If you guys have done this before, then you know what we're doing. We're going to turn the hands outward to try and get pinkies to body, then flip the hands over, thumbs to torso, and flip them around back into that prayer position. Keeping pressure between the hands the whole time, making a little circle with the wrists and a little circle with the elbows. Trying to mobilize, stretch out the wrists and the elbows. We dove onto them quite a few times. Nice, go ahead and shake those out. We're also going to stretch out our shoulder and neck just a little bit. We're gonna go arm behind our back, and we're going to tilt our head away from that arm. Add slight pull with your open hand, free hand on that side, and just pull and hold for just a moment. A few deep breaths while we're in here. Let's switch to the opposite, reverse reach, head tilt, grab, and a few deep breaths. All right, and hopefully you guys get an awesome opportunity to again work out and practice those drills, not just doing a bunch of workouts together, but really focused on skills training for that movement. Guys, thank you, and I hope you have a good day. Peace. Adios. Auf Wiedersehen.